So sometimes I get into these reflective moods, let's call it that, where I just kind of think about life and just how life has turned out for me, I would say. And when I drop these sort of videos, it's not really to share it to feel sorry for me or to look for sympathy or anything like that. It's not that at all. But I think it's important to share these sort of videos more so because I suppose when it comes down to social media, being online, putting out that content, it's always perceived that everything is sort of perfect, I would say, or everything's great, everything is going smoothly, when that's not the case. And I'm sure a lot of people can empathize with that, where things can be just going wrong sometimes, or things may not be going to plan. But with that, it's not really the time or place to really showcase that. But then I said, with this sort of platform of what I'm doing and what I'm sort of showcasing and documenting, I think it's incredibly important to show sort of both sides. The times where I'm very much, I would say, optimistic, positive, and then just the times where I'm feeling not down. I wouldn't say down, but just kind of in deep thought of things, or things may not necessarily be where I want it to be, or I may be thinking that I wanted to be in a better place sooner or quicker or faster in that sense. But I was just thinking to myself as well when I was saying that, really and truly, it's there's always that sort of debate, especially online, when it comes down to being an entrepreneur, being working for yourself versus, I suppose, working a job or working 9 to 5 and all that sort of stuff, right? But when it comes down to it, in the grand scheme of things, there isn't any particular sort of side that trumps the other, really and truly. And the reason why I say that is because, for example, with a lot of the stuff I'm doing, I'm working literally every single day, weekends included, because it's just a no-brainer. I got stuff to do. I need to be ahead so I can get stuff done, and more so that I can do what needs to be done in order to generate more revenue, right? And just be in a position where things are running smoothly. Because ultimately, when you're working for yourself or self-employed and that side of things, you're always sort of looking for work, or you're always wanting to be in a position where you don't have to worry about sort of money, or where the next sort of paycheck or the next sort of opportunity is going to be coming from. So from there, it's really in my best interest to showcase myself, to put myself online, to document all those particular things, because it definitely helps. But then I suppose when you get to a point where you're always on, I would say, I'm always on, I'm always working on something. And that sort of gets into a interesting time, I would say, because when you're sort of in a position where life merges with work and your work merges with life, it's more, you're sort of embedded in work all the time, if you understand what I mean. And if you're watching this and you work for yourself, or you're self-employed or entrepreneur, then I would appreciate like your comments based on sort of how you kind of get through that aspect of knowing that every day is always a work day, sort of thing. I'll be interested to kind of hear your thoughts on how you go through that. I think for me, more so, what is good for me, I know how to switch off when I need to switch off, I would say. Despite the fact that I'm always doing something every day, when it gets down to sort of now it's time to just switch off and do other things, I'm really good at that, which is quite beneficial. But then I would say that I'm quite, how would I word it? I would say I'm very much, my mood is always, at the moment anyway, really reflective of work. I think I mentioned it in one of my previous videos, but then even for example, yesterday, fantastic news, great news, really much chuffed, I'm happy. I gave my what I do. 'Cause I do other sort of video content as well, just as more of a personal diary to myself, where I'd rate sort of the day, how the day went on a scale of 1 to 10. So yesterday I was just like, you know what, 9. 9 was, it was a good day yesterday, but then nothing necessarily changed from sort of yesterday to today. But it went from like a 9 to more feeling like a sort of 4, which is a bit weird because nothing has really happened or transitioned from yesterday, as mentioned, but the mood. But then it's sort of probably me kind of reflecting on the stuff that I need to do potentially, where I'm thinking, okay, I got this stuff I need to do. I need to prepare for this, or I got content to do, or I got client work to prepare for, that sort of stuff. So I find it particularly interesting where that part of switching off never necessarily happens unless I purposely do it. But all in all, it's always going to be sort of in the background, sort of like on standby per se. But then, arguably, I suppose there's many people who will be working 9 to 5s and they get the opportunity to switch off, which is great. But then, for a lot of us, there's always sort of that yearning for more, an opportunity to do more, the opportunity to build or create, and those sort of things, right? And I suppose when it gets to a hard time as an entrepreneur or something, there's nothing really to fall back on in that side of things. But then I suppose if there's any issues at work, you can call in sick, or you can take sick leave, or any of those particular things. But I find it quite interesting because ultimately there isn't any particular side that's better than the other. With working 9 to 5, working corporate, you're guaranteed to a degree that level of security, or more, or better yet, rather than that, you're guaranteed that you're going to get your money at the end of the month, the same day, whatever it is, whether it's the last working day of the month or the last Friday of the month, whenever it is, you know that you're guaranteed to get paid, right? And ultimately, what it really comes down to is that you know that your input is a guaranteed output. And I think that's the main sort of thing that I want to speak on. I think that's the first thing I want to sort of cover, is that when it comes down to, yep, 9 to 5, whatever the case, you're guaranteed based on your input. No matter what you're doing, you're always guaranteed your output is your money at the end of the month. But then when you're sort of building something from scratch or building something on your own terms, it's quite it's quite interesting. The input can be so extensive. It can be so, what's the word I want to try to use? It can just be a lot of variation of input that you're doing to get one output, I would say, or various outputs. And then I just think it's quite interesting is that you could be doing so many different things as an entrepreneur, or working for yourself, or doing those sort of things. You can have so many various inputs, whether it comes down to producing said content, or posting online, or cold calling, or emailing, or pitching, all that sort of stuff. You can be doing so many variations of those things, but there's no guarantee. There's literally no guarantee that that the output is even going to come into fruition, that you're even going to get whatever you're looking for at the end of it. And when it comes down to that, the level of thick skin that you need to just have your thought process, to just to go through that sort of process in your head, to be like, I can be doing so many different things and there may not ever be an output, is quite interesting, I would say. And I would say, based on sort of my experiences, I never necessarily had a sort of job role that required me, or allowed me, I would say, to switch off, I would say. Because with PR, that's like a 24/7 news cycle. You're always having to be aware of what's happening within the news agenda in terms of ensuring that you're able to get those opportunities for your client no matter what. And it was something that was, and you know what, it's something that I don't even like disregard, or I say that I wish it never happened, because it was through those main skills that I have that allowed me to really hone in on what I can do, and having that level of accountability for myself and that level of discipline that I speak about often, and just knowing that it's for me to do rather than for someone else to do. And with me being so, I would say, committed, so ambitious, so intense about what success looks like, or what I believe success looks like for me, that has helped me a lot in the pursuit and the process of building my business and getting to the place where more people are understanding what I'm doing. They understand the story behind how I got here. They understand the methodology of what I'm pushing forward with everything that I'm looking to be doing over the next couple years, that you guys are going to see in real time. So I would say that when it comes down to working for yourself or being an entrepreneur, or any of those things, one thing I would say is do not don't be there leaving your job on the idea that it will work. It may work for you, but chances are it won't. And if you're sort of leaving on the pretense of starting something from scratch, something new, there's so many things that you're going to learn. And there's so many things, as I mentioned, that you have to unlearn in the process. By the time you end up even getting to that process of even then understanding what needs to be done to get you to that next stage, you may run out of money. And I'm laughing because it happens. It happens a lot. It happens a lot. And with that, you just have to kind of be smart about it. And you have to be, as I always say, willing to do things that people aren't thinking to do, or things that people aren't willing to do. And I would say that for me has been the reason why I've managed to sort of stay afloat, I would say, or stay involved in what it means for what I'm doing with building my own business and building a name for myself outside of the workplace, because I'm a big believer in that. All of the things that I do with a level of intention and strategy that I know that people just aren't thinking about. And I always use that as a way to excel in the things I'm doing or the things I'm building. And as I shared in my last videos previously, all work works, whether it goes to plan and it works in my favor, or it doesn't necessarily work the way that I want it to go. I still have an idea of what I can do better, or what I've even learned in the process of doing that particular thing, whatever it may be. So it's all those sort of things in the journey that I've developed, that thick skin, that I'm able to still do it. And for me, I would go as far to say that this for me is probably the main thing that I have to really make sure that I get to the place I want to get to. And I've done a video about the glass ceiling as well. And in that regard, that could be the issue when it comes down to working at a job, because there's going to be a time and place where, due to whatever situation, it may be stereotypes, it may just be the politics in the office, that it doesn't matter what you do. Like the opportunity to get any higher than where you're at now is not happening. It's not happening. So then what do you do? Do you take the risk and and do your own thing, or do you stay sort of stagnant knowing that you are not necessarily going to go any higher than where you are now, but you have the sort of comfortability. You have the comfortability knowing that you are earning a set amount of money, but then you know that you are capped at that potential. There's no sort of other sort of way of you generating any other opportunities for yourself unless you build, you create, you develop things. And that is probably the hardest part when you get to the point of thinking that when you get to a point of wanting to, I suppose, rise up into the jobs that you're working in as well. Like I was very, very optimistic when I first started working in the industry per se. But then ultimately it got to the point where even I realized that there's no sort of leeway where I will ever get past that middle management stage. Is for me, it was virtually impossible. So with everything that's said and done, it was something that I felt like I had to do. And through that, I don't regret it at all because the opportunity that I've been able to to have over the last few years, so yeah, years has been amazing. And a lot of the things that has happened wouldn't have happened had I been thinking, okay, I'm out of this job now, let me go find another job. And I just felt like it would have been a continuous sort of recurring thing that would have happened of me sort of not feeling like I'm in a place where I belong, I would say. I feel like I'll be there, won't necessarily enjoy it, move on to somewhere else, and then so on and so forth. But I would say for me personally, being in a position where I'm able to build from scratch and build a sort of legacy for myself through the content that I'm doing, through the work that I'm doing, and through the way that I'm showcasing the importance of what it means to build a personal brand and what it means to build a business brand as well, is something that I know will effectively change everything for me. It will change everything for me. And that's why I'm so dedicated to the cause of posting this content, because there's going to be many people in similar situations, whether they're in sort of the highs or the lows, the highs or the lows of what life has to offer. There's going to be someone who may stumble across this and they're going to be like, you know what, I needed to hear this based on what I'm saying. There is no right or wrong based on the path that you're looking to go down. You just need to make sure that whatever path you go down, you take full accountability of yourself for that path and you work like there's no stopping you. Because ultimately that's the only way that you're going to see that level of success that you want. And for me, I knew that I would never be able to see that level of success that I want through working the normal job route. But then now that I have been in a position of seeing what it means to build, to build to the level that I want to build to, I know that the sky's the limit in that regard. And all it comes down to me is to stay committed, stay diligent, stay disciplined in the process of doing what I'm doing, and ultimately just meeting the right people as well who can really see that I am very serious about the things that I have set myself to do, the objectives I've set for myself, or the plans that I've set for myself as well. So have a think about it. If you are in a position where you're working and you're thinking there's more to life, you want to be doing more, definitely try it. 100% try it, but don't quit your job. Don't quit your job to try something that may or may not go to plan. But then at the same time, I want you to understand that you need to learn to embrace the unknown, because that's the same thing I did in July 2024. I embraced the unknown after leaving a job, and I was thinking, I don't know what's next for me, but I'm going to give whatever the next step is a good go. And now we're here talking about it and documenting it on YouTube. But with that, it just goes to show that there's room for all of us. There's room for all of us to build and grow and develop and do that content. You just have to get out your head, unlearn the things that has been preventing you from doing all these things in the first place. Because had you said to me that I will be on YouTube recording daily content for 1,000 days to make a point known that it's important to use video as a vehicle to document and showcase what you're doing, and you don't even need to do it in a way that you see other YouTubers doing it with all the effects and just making it all polished. Those days, I would say, isn't is it's not completely done, but the era of where we're getting at is no longer a thing where people are amazed by the special effects or the edits as much, especially in long form. People just want to hear real people talk about real things that's happening and just being very forthcoming with how life is on their end and what they are doing to keep going, I would say. And I would say that's a part of the internet that some people don't really get to see, because you're kind of bombarded with the the flashy side of things, the gloss, the just the side of things that make life feel like it's all candy and rainbows when it really isn't. So there's gonna be times where I'll be dropping the content to educate about everything from PR, marketing, personal branding, AI, as I mentioned, and talk about. But then, as I always say, this is your platform, so you can do what you want. And for me, I wanted to just ensure that with everything that I'm building, everything that I'm doing, there was a sort of piece of a corner of the internet for myself where I can just share my real life experiences in a way that can resonate with people, and people can understand that things worth having takes time, and it's not easy. It's not easy in the slightest, but you need to be war ready if you're looking to go down this route of entrepreneurship and building as well, because the other side of things is that you can then be like, okay, you know what, I'm ready to freelance. You go into freelancing, but then you're still sort of capped. You're still sort of capped as a freelancer, even more so because you're in a position where you're working for a company as a freelancer, by the way, but then you're being asked to be in the office like 3, 4, 5 days a week. It's mad. It's crazy. It defeats the purpose of what it means to freelance and to have that level of autonomy. So even that has been sort of scrapped, and you're more or less deemed as an employee when you're following that sort of procedure. And that's why when it comes down to actually building your own sort of programs, building your own sort of products, building your own sort of intellectual property that you can use to really showcase you building your infrastructure, that is the part that really rocks the boat for a lot of us, because we're not, I say, used to it in terms of that. We're not aware of those things, of what it means to have that level of intellectual property, making sure that you have your domains and everything lined up. So all the things that you create for yourself, you create that infrastructure, you create that empire, and you keep building, because now is the only way, that's the only way that if you're looking to reach a level of success for yourself where you have that level of autonomy, you have that opportunity to retire your parents, your spouse, yourself, you need to have your intellectual property now. It's not a matter of I might get it. You need to have your IP in check if you're really looking to scale to the heights of you no longer having to worry about what it means to build these things. Because far too often you hear these stories of people building their companies or they're building their brands, and before you know it, the intellectual property got swiped because they spent too much time talking about it but not speaking to the right people to help them set the legal foundations so they can actually build and flourish with something that they actually create from their own mind. So I was very quick to secure my IP, my intellectual property for the stuff that I'm building, because I the thought of that being taken away from me at this stage, I would say is yeah, it'll be emotional to say the least. But all in all, this is just really me just taking the opportunity to just share my thoughts and be forthcoming with you guys on a very honest and transparent one. But all in all, do what makes you happy, man. Do what makes you happy. And if building something from scratch and paving your own lane in this life makes you happy, then do it. But make sure that you are prepared for what life has to throw at you as a result of your actions. And that's probably the reason why I go through these sort of moments of reflection, because we're not told to do sort of things like this. We're told to go to school, go to university, get a degree, get a job, stay in the job for 40, 50, 60 years, retire, not earning or not having even enough in your pension pot to even sustain you, and then you know the rest. But yeah, I'm not aligning with that sort of story anymore, personally. And with that in mind, I know that there's so much that needs to be done to get to the stage where all of this works out. And that's the reason why you're watching this and you're subscribed as well. So if you are looking to hear me talk like this, kind of just keeping it real with you guys, then yeah, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And all in all, what is the actual sort of ending of the video? Do what makes you happy, work hard, pray hard, and make yourself proud, man. Make yourself proud. No matter what that looks like, do what makes you happy and do what makes you proud. But make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace out.